Hi, welcome back to the Grape Explorer. It's that time of the month where we go through some of the wine stories that have caught my eye, whether they be humorous or informative about the wine industry. As you know, this is something I do monthly. If you're new to this channel, welcome. I'm the Grape Explorer, bringing you wine education, product reviews and lots of tastings, and once a month a roundup of the best news stories in the world of wine. I'm going to kick off today with a story that really made me laugh. And it's happened here in the UK about a red wine producer who has breached the code of the Portman Group. They're like a regulator here in the UK for things like advertising. The wine in question is called Ménage à Trois Midnight. So you probably get a feel for where this is headed in terms of their marketing campaign for this. It's a Californian red blend made up of Merlot, Cabernet Sauvignon, Petit Syrah and Petit Verdot. But it's the way that it's been advertised and labelled. So it pledges to help consumers satisfy their deepest desires after turning out the lights and savouring the pleasures of the dark. That, coupled with the name Ménage à Trois, has fallen foul of the regulator. It was being sold in one of the supermarkets here in the UK. The regulator has this code of practice and they audited a number of different products. So the producers had to remove the sexualised text off their bottle of wine. Now, I don't know about you, but if a wine is telling me that it's going to satisfy my deepest desires, that probably means I'm going to get a little bit drunk, quite happy with that. And turning out the lights and savouring the pleasures of the dark for me just means sleeping. So I don't actually see what there is an issue with this here. You know, we're all adults. You have to be an adult over 18 years old in the UK to be able to drink. Just for me, funny story, Ménage à Trois it is actually an inappropriate name for a wine. It's really got nothing to do with wine at all, has it? So there we go, Ménage à Trois. If you've seen that one on the shelves, let me know. Now I'm going to move on to a story that's come out of France, and it's a winemaker protests that have taken place where French officials had plans to ditch 64 communes from the Burgundy appellation, including Chablis. You know, Chablis geographically doesn't necessarily look as though it sits alongside a lot of the other Burgundy appellations, but it is part of Burgundy. And this has been met with a lot of furore, as these things often do in France. And the head of France's National Appellation Committee said quite rightly, he will not be a president who takes Chablis out of Burgundy. More than 450 winemakers had protested outside the offices of the National Appellation Body, and nobody believes that this matter is finished. However, the bigger question here is whether the boundaries of Burgundy should be drawn. I think what's interesting about this particular one is Chablis very much has its own style when it comes to its production of Chardonnay. You know, it doesn't use oak, for example. It creates these really minerality driven wines. And it may be for that reason that it was being considered to be taken out of the wider Burgundy appellation. But I do think it has a place in there. It's got a real history as part of Burgundy. And I, for one, wouldn't want to see Chablis become its own thing. I'm not really sure how that would work in the future. I think it's important that it stays associated with the wider Burgundy appellation. Going to stay in France for the next story, and I'd be really keen to get your thoughts on this down in the comment section below around the use of wine in cocktails. Sauternes cocktails have been stirring up a debate recently in Bordeaux. Using Sauternes to make cocktails has divided opinion among chateaux and drawn a lot of criticism from specific chateaux, most famously Chateau d'Yquem. I think, you know, wine cocktails are a thing. You know, wine spritzers in the 1980s were particularly popular in the UK. So Sauternes cocktails are not the way to create new fans of Bordeaux's Sauternes, is what the message is, and I wholeheartedly agree with that. I think some chateaux have experimented with Sauternes styles that can be used in cocktails, such as a mulled wine or a sojito, a fresh take on the classic mojito. What it's saying is, the French are saying that it's incorrect to suddenly think that Sauternes could be enhanced through mixology. It's its own thing and it should be rightfully drunk as its own thing. But, you know, mixologists, those of us who are particularly fond of cocktails, or those of us who are a bit entrepreneurial when it comes to cocktails, are really going to throw anything into the drink that they think is going to make a fantastic and unique cocktail. Me personally, Sauternes is meant to be drunk the way that it was intended, straight up, out of the glass. That's how I enjoy mine. Moving over to California now, and a story that's coming out of the 2019 vintage, stating that 30,000 acres of Californian wine grapes need to be removed. This is because there is just too much wine left over from previous vintages. Californian growers left fruit unpicked in 2019 up and down the state as winery tanks remained full and unsold. Some Central Valley growers went so far as machine harvest fruit, with the machines splitting berries back to the ground instead of heading them into gondolas and headed for the winery. They've been doing this type of practice for some time in California, but what they're saying this year is it's unprecedented, the amount of acreage that is getting left untouched. So they don't see it very often in the industry. They're in a unique position right now, and it's not really a favourable one. California is oversupplied by 30,000 acres of vineyard. They say the state bearing acreage needs to be 560,000 acres or less, and therefore wine grapes need to be pulled statewide in order to have a balanced wine grape market. And this is all about, in some respects, the more commercial side of grape growing and wine production. They've still got material they need to sell, and there's no point making more wine when you can't sell the previous wine that you've got. So this is an unfortunate business decision, but it seems like it's a practice that takes place. It's just that in this occasion it's quite unprecedented. And finally, on to my last story. Now, we're in February of 2020. Coronavirus is something that has taken a grip of the globe, really, and there are some really unfortunate stories coming out of this. But I did just want to highlight this one story because I feel particularly sorry for these passengers who've been isolated on a cruise ship for some time. But one couple did try and find a novel way to break the monotony of being stuck on the ship. A couple from Palm Beach in Queensland, Australia, had been confined to their cabin on board the Princess Diamond ship. However, what they were able to do was order some wine online and have it brought into them via drone. So they've been able to break the boredom and still enjoy a good glass of wine. And I think for anyone who is going through something like this, it's actually important to have something to enjoy and to try and make the time pass. So as bemused as the Japanese Coast Guards might have been to seeing drones flying with packages attached, I'm happy that this couple were able to get something out of what is, I'm sure, a terrible trip. So there you go, there's some of the news stories that I have spotted during the last month. Let me know in the comments section below what you've noticed. I'm the Grape Explorer. I look forward to seeing you again soon. Cheers.